Thanks for joining me here in the Fire Mountain Gems and Beads studio. We have got a fabulous foily fun project for you today. And it all begins with the Female Professional Black Clay. All of this beautiful, delicious, shiny, dichroic-looking foil projects only take black clay, believe it or not. So let's show you just how easy and fun this all is. So I like to work on a smooth ceramic tile that you can get at your local hardware store or home improvement store. And I condition the clay, and it starts off on the thickest setting of my clay machine. But we're going to take this down to a very, very thin setting. Make sure that your machine is very clean underneath. You don't want to pick up any contaminants or crumbles of clay that might be from a previous project. So we want to make sure there's no air bubbles between our clay and our work surface, so we'll just smooth it down gently from one end and then just gently burnish it down onto your tile so you don't trap any air in between there. Now you may have remembered that I did a video with my foils and epoxy sculpt. Be sure to check that out if you haven't seen it. But epoxy sculpt is a two-part epoxy glue. It's actually a combination. It's a clay, it's a glue. And so it sticks really easy to that. Now polymer clay, it doesn't stick quite as easy to. But the Female Professional clay has a really nice adhesive quality to it. So what we're going to do is work with my foils. Now there's several different sets that you can get at Fire Mountain Gems and Beads of my mylar back foils. And this is just 6 of them from the Expression set. So you can see they're more elegant and some subtlety to those. But we're going to go to the Celebration set, which has some of my favorite colors and designs. This is the Fiesta Sunset. Ooh. Now it comes in sheets that are 4 by 8 inches long. So you'll get 6 of those in every package. So that's a lot of projects you can do. Now you want to lay, the color always goes face up. Now the other thing to know is that the warmer and softer the clay is and smoother, the better it's going to work. And you don't want to cut. If you're just doing a small foil piece, don't cut a small piece of foil to do it with. You want to have a lot of that mylar to grab and pull from. That's really important. So I'm going to share you the tips and tricks that you have foil success each and every time you work with this product. So you want, I call it high-tech burnishing paper. You've probably been calling it scrap paper. Scrap paper, a little piece of parchment or deli paper, even just a little piece from a paper towel, but you want it nice and flat, not crumpled in a ball, and with the flat pads of your fingers, not your fingertips. We're going to apply pressure, but it's the heat that makes it stick to the clay, not so much the pressure, but we're applying pressure so we can build up friction. What's the paper for? I'm so glad you were wondering. What it does is it eliminates the drag that is created by the body oils in your hands. Or if you've been handling clay, you're going to have residue, and that's going to slow down the ability to build that heat and friction up, even if you have hot little hands. So we want to burnish it for about 30 to 60 seconds with some pressure. We don't want to put pressure in and get divots or gouges or hills and valleys. We want to keep the clay nice and flat. Now, the first time this happens, it may not work so well. So don't be alarmed. All will be well. So you want to pay attention. This is a very important trick. You want to pay attention to which end you're ripping this off from. And I'm emphasizing ripping. We're not tugging, we're not pulling, we're not coaxing. We're ripping it. Rip it good. Okay, so I'm paying attention, and you're going to bend the foil backwards over onto itself. Make sure you don't have your coffee cup nearby or some tools that you can run into, and you're going to rip it. Now, check that out, okay? It's not unusual to have speckles or spots. You see that on the back of the mylar? Speckles and spots that don't lay down onto the foil. Most of the time you can fix that. We're going to show you how to do that. But sometimes it could be a problem you can't fix. And those times might be maybe your clay had depressions or divots in it, so the foil's not making good contact with it. Or if you leave the leftover foil laying around your work area, it can pick up residue from some of the materials you're working with, and it won't release properly. But in most cases, you can very simply fix it by aligning it. And this is where, if you need them, a pair of readers comes in really handy. So here's one of my tips for aligning those spots. for me, I find it's easier to get those spots just back exactly where they need to be if I look at the outer edges of the design and not so much the spots themselves. I don't have to spend quite as much time fiddling with placement if I look at that. So I've got all my spots aligned. I'm going to go back to my burnishing paper and re-burnish. Now if you have a big spot, you might concentrate a little extra pressure there. So again, another 30 to 60 seconds. In the confetti foil, we were just using our scraps. And it works the same on polymer clay. Totally different technique. We lay it down, it's a little easier, it's a very random. And be sure to check out that video. Be sure to share it with your friends, this one too. If you're on Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, hit all your social media and just have everybody be so thankful that you're sharing all of this creative fun that we're doing here in the Fire Mountain Gems and Beads Design Studio. Okay, so I've killed enough time burnishing. Now here's the trick. The trick is to rip it from a different direction. It doesn't have to be the opposite direction, just a different direction. And let's see how that works. So this is where it's helpful to have a bigger piece of Mylar to work with, even if you're just doing a small piece of clay. Ready? Ooh, look at that. There's a few little spots that didn't quite come out, and that's okay, we don't worry about those. So if you've seen my pop art project, you'll see that the trick of lifting clay up from your work surface without tearing, stretching, or distorting is to hold your clay blade at a 45-degree angle and very quickly shimmy back and forth. So just do this carefully. You want to always have control of the blade. Now this is a really thin piece of clay, about the thickness of cardstock. All right. So I'm just going to lop off a little bit of this because we're collaging with foil. We can build so many designs. I don't have time to show you all the designs here today, but we'll give you some design ideas and talk about how you can fill bezels and do some other creations with your collages. So here I did some of my rainbow foil. So we're going to set that out as well. And let's take a look at how just beautiful, bright, colorful, poppy that is from that angle as well. Now what I like to have at hand are several tools. I like to have the Sculpey blade set because it comes with this zigzag blade. And it comes with a straight blade that I just used. It even comes with safety handles if you like them. I feel like I have a little more control just holding my blade safely by the corners, but it comes with this ripple blade, one of my absolute favorites. So let's talk about a few of the design elements that you can use when you make your piece. So with the ripple blade, just pressing down, and you want to pull towards you. You don't want to lift up because the clay won't come with you. So we'll get rid of this piece here. But I'm just going to make a straight wave. So let's take a look at that with the camera. Okay, so there's a straight wave. You don't want to pull it off the blade because it's going to straighten it out. It's going to pull all that beautiful ripple design out. You're going to just knock it off. Knock it off, won't you? Okay, so if I angle the blade, I get what I call lightning bolts. So I know you can't see it from there, so we're just going to shift this guy over a little bit here. And of course you can work on a bigger tile at home. But you can see I've got a tapered bit right there. And you can also mirror the pattern so that you get a bubble effect. So let's take a look at how that looks. So how about from that angle right there? Cool, huh? So you have total control over the thickness and the width of your designs. You can also do some really cool things like turn this into a chain pattern. And I work with all different colors. Now there's a lot of great tools that you can find for making all these little elements I'm going to show you, but a real inexpensive one are drinking straws. So we're going to start here with this little coffee stirring straw. Now, sometimes you can find these in a few different diameters, so keep your eye out for those. Now, what I did was I cut this, and I cut it at an angle, and there's a reason for that. So these make great circle punches, but you just want a tiny little bit, and you'll see why in a second. But you can only get 2 circle punches out of every straw, and here's why. If you cut straight through your straw, you don't know that you're cutting straight. So you may not be able to get a clean circle cut out of your clay. The only one that you know is going to be clean are the 2 machine cut ends. So we're going to cut it about 1 inch or so long, and we're going to cut it at an angle. So the angle shows me which end is not the machine end. So we're going to get it in there in the scissors here. There we go. So that angle tells me that's not the clean end that's going to give me my nice circle. Here's another cool trick. I'm going to kind of go off script here and tell you these are great for those of you who work with seed beads and glitter and mica powders. This is a great way to make little tiny scoops for those things. But I digress. Back to the circle cutter. So you can see here, I can use this to punch out. Now I squeezed a little bit, I ended up getting an oval, which that's okay, you can reshape these. But I'm gonna make a donut. Go nuts for donuts. Sometimes the clay will stick inside your straw. Don't worry about it. That's why we cut it short. So you can take a needle tool, a bamboo skewer, a toothpick, or I'm using this little jewelry awl here, and if it sticks inside, you can push it right out of your straws. A little trick too about that, so you don't poke a hole in the middle, is you're gonna poke it, you're gonna run that right down on the edge, on the inside of the straw, so it just lifts it out on the edge, and then you don't have a hole poked in the middle if you don't want a hole poked in the middle. Another great tool that you can get through Fire Mountain Gems and Beads are camper cutters, which comes in all different sizes and shapes. So we've got a little bit more precision here. We can do donuts, we could do graduated circles. Let's make a few designs. We can even do hearts. Now again, sometimes these will stick in your cutters or your straws, and sometimes they won't. With the camper cutters, we've got this nice little spring plunger that will pop them right out. So that's really handy. So I'm going to show you another one of my other favorite designs. So what we want to do, if it sticks in the clay, which is okay, we're going to, again, just shimmy it up very carefully, and it may still stick in the clay or it may stick to your tile. Doesn't really matter. If it sticks in the clay, you can use your craft knife, your hobby knife, or that awl or a toothpick, and you can usually just get them to pop right out. All right. Thanks for joining me here today in Fire Mountain Gems and Beads Design Studio. Happy claying.